Now we know plug-in hybrids are meant to be a bit boring and a bit sensible to buy, but Cupra are trying to push away from that stereotype. This is the Cupra Leon VZe, and it's meant to be a plug-in hybrid hot hatch. Now, if you're not familiar with Cupra, that's not your fault. This brand is brand new to Australia as of last year. And it's fair to say I've had a bit of trouble explaining to people what this brand is and making sense of why it exists. So to be honest, my best explanation is that yes, it's the brand that lives in between Skoda and Volkswagen in terms of pricing and performance. And so after you're done explaining what a Cupra is to people, they're gonna say, how much did you spend on this plug-in hybrid hot hatch? Well, for this exact car here with a sunroof fitted, you're looking at a drive-away price of $67,290. So this is actually the second most expensive Cupra Leon you can buy, with the VZX being priced above this with the same motor you'll find in the Golf R, but that is front-wheel drive only. So for that amount of cash that you're paying for this car, you're not getting an ill-equipped car at all. You're getting radar cruise control, you get this no-cost metallic black paint, you're getting these 19-inch alloy wheels which are wrapped in a Pirelli rubber here on our test car. You're getting front bucket seats, you're getting tri-zone climate controls, you're also getting a digital cockpit which is pretty cool as well, and you also get some little paddle extenders on the paddle shifters on the inside. So there is a 10-inch center screen here with wireless Apple CarPlay, and it's been great to use, but the thing is that apparently the 2023 cars are all coming with a 12-inch center screen, so this one here is a little out of date. And of course you get a wireless phone charger, and you get two charging cables. You get one that just plugs into a normal household AC socket, which you can slow charge this battery up, but then you also get another one in case you find a slightly faster charger, which allows you to plug at, say, at the shops or even at home with a proper fast charger like this one. Now, the biggest downside to this car personally are these fake exhausts. Like, really, did we have to commit that much R&D and also materials to point out some exhausts that actually don't go anywhere? So I know it looks kind of cool from a distance, but once you know they're fake, it just looks a little bit forced. But at least there's a cool looking rear diffuser which sort of saves the day. Now, if you have any doubts that this thing is related to a Volkswagen, check out how you open the boot. You just grab the badge and open it up. I wonder where we've seen that before. Now in here, I have a bunch of stuff to simulate what you probably normally have in the boot here. And this boot is pretty sizable. But again, another downside, you don't have a spare tire. You only have a repair kit, which isn't really all that helpful. But what is helpful is that you do have seats that fold in a 60-40 split, but you do have a ski pass through in the middle, which allows you to put longer items through without having to fold the seats all the way down. You just sacrifice that middle seat, which is, again, very useful. Now, moving on from the boot space, the rear seats are actually fairly comfortable. I have a nice depth in my feet room. I have plenty of knee room in front of me. I have an okay amount of headroom, but I might hit my head on some taller bumps. I have a nice soft headrest. It's really quite plush, so I can get very comfortable in here for long trips, although this middle seat isn't too comfortable. And on the inside here, I'm hugged in nicely by these partial leather and partial cloth bucket seats. I really like the steering feel. It's a nice flat bottom and nicely stitched steering wheel, and I love the bronze theme throughout here. The materials all are nice and high quality, although I don't really like this trim piece which runs around the top of the dash here. It just feels a little bit cheap, and it's around here next to my knee as well. You can see here a big influence obviously from the Mark 8 Golf in here with this shifter, but I found it to be a direct takeout from the new Porsche 911, which first used this small stubby style of automatic shifter. I like the start engine stop button, which pulses red here in the center console, and these displays are nice and easy to read, really easy to use as well, although yes, the elephant in the room, like I said in my other Golf review, is this center screen here. Let's start with the fact that the volume controls and the actual temperature controls do not light up at night, which is quite frustrating. They're only touch sensitive. There's no buttons to control anything like that here on the screen or below the screen. Everything is within the display here. And just trying to find simple menus can be just a little convoluted. And I heard someone say it feels like they sat down, they tested it all within a boardroom without actually getting people who've never experienced this screen before driving around and trying to use it. So yes, I hope they actually do some software updates to simplify the UI, and maybe in future products actually include some hard buttons to make it easier to navigate the screen when you're driving. And I do like this sunroof here. It's nice and big, and it creates a lot of light here for the front passengers. Now you're probably like, Cameron, is this car safe? Can I buy it for myself and travel around with people I care about and not get injured when I get into a crash? Well, the answer is yes, you will be safe because this thing scored a 5-star ANCAP rating, which is pretty good. Now, my top 3 favorite safety features in this car includes the blind spot monitoring that's incorporated with the ambient lighting that runs around the dashboard, which is very useful, nice and bright, and you rarely ever miss anything being in your blind spot. Number 2, the travel assist setting for the radar cruise control is very useful for long trips because it has active steering assist and of course uses the radar cruise control, which keeps you nice and safe and in the middle of the lane for longer trips. And finally, the front collision avoidance system is really good. In my garage, it's a tight space and occasionally it's slammed on the brakes thinking I'm about to hit the wall because I have to get nice and close. It can be a little bit annoying, but I prefer an oversensitive system in situations like that than something that doesn't really work at all. So you can probably rest assured this will stop in case someone walks in front of you, say in the city. Now you're probably wondering if it's a good idea to buy a Cupra brand new. Well, actually it's not a bad idea for 2023 because you get 3 years of servicing included when you buy your car. And if you want to extend that service period to 5 years, it will only cost you $1,400, which isn't a bad deal for roughly 5 years of services. Now, service intervals are 12 months or 15,000 kilometers, whichever comes first, which is pretty decent. And the warranty period is 5 years and it's an unlimited kilometer warranty. So yeah, I would say this is a pretty fair warranty period for a European car like this. Now, what's the reliability and ownership experience like with this car? Well, the thing is that there's not much data on that at all here in Australia because this car only launched here less than 12 months ago. But this is a sister car to the Volkswagen Golf, which rates a 3.7 out of 5 on productreview.com.au, with most owners saying they've enjoyed owning their Golf for a long period of time. But this is of course most closely related to the Golf GTE. Again, no reliability data here in Australia because no one's ever bought one here. So overseas, most people have said they've had no problems with their Golf GTE, only some slight issues with some false warning lights, and then when they had any issues with charging, apparently a software update was something able to fix that problem. Although I wouldn't go 100% off that data there. That's only a rough guide because again, this is a new car to the Australian market and some of those problems might have been fixed for this car to come here to Australia. So this should be a largely trouble-free car to own. Now the Cupra Leon VZe has 2 fuel doors, one for petrol and one for electrons. So this here will take a charge from your normal household plug at home and that will take a matter of hours. So it's going to take anywhere between 4 to 6 hours from what I found when charging this thing. So really you'll get a full charge overnight, which is pretty useful. And this car is capable of charging just a little bit faster from a wall box, which you can either find at your local shopping center like I have, or you can get one installed at your home. But this isn't capable of DC fast charging, which is a bit of a shame because you can't use those fast chargers you might see elsewhere when you're going on a road trip. And so with a full battery, you're looking at a tested 40 kilometers of range, which I achieved when using this car, but it has a claimed range of 59 kilometers on the WLTP cycle. Now, the Cupra Leon VZe starts off in E mode, which is really useful, especially if you like leaving early in the morning because this car won't make a sound starting up its motor. Now, because this is a plug-in hybrid, we have 2 different drivetrains. We have a 1.4 litre turbocharged petrol 4-cylinder, and we have a 12.8 kilowatt hour battery attached to an electric motor. Now, that's good for a combined power output of 180 kilowatts and 400 newton meters of torque, which means this can hit 0 to 100 in a claimed 6.7 seconds. However, if that battery runs out of charge, you're then left with only 110 kilowatts and 250 newton meters of torque. So this really only is a hot hatch by its power output definition when the battery is at least fully charged. Another thing as well is that if you're looking for off-the-line grip, this electric motor does put down a lot of torque. So these front wheels do spin just a little bit like this. But once you get going under electric power, it's really quite nice. I've enjoyed around 40 kilometers on average per charge of pure electric range, which is really nice, really useful, great to daily drive on, which means I'm using hardly any petrol at all. So that means on average, I've been looking at a fuel consumption figure of 4.3 liters per 100 Ks at an average pace of around 29 kilometers an hour, which has been very good and it's super respectable, and it's really the reason why you're looking at getting a plug-in hybrid like this. Now, because this is going to be heavier than the other petrol variants of the Cupra Leon range, it's going to be interesting to brake. We have over 100 kilos of extra weight on board, so let's see how these brakes perform in an emergency stop in 3, 2, 1, and we're braking. Oh, they pull up really nice. So I've heard some people complain about the weird brake feel in here. I just think they're feeling the extra weight and the fact these brakes have probably been tuned to account for that extra weight. Although driving around town, it can feel like it's a bit heavier than your average hatchback. Now, the suspension is clearly in a comfort tune, and if we go into our different drive modes, we'll see if that makes a large difference. So driving around in comfort mode, this is a very plush car, and especially over potholes and speed bumps, it's been really, really comfortable, even with 4 people inside the car. Now we can switch to sport mode, which livens everything up a little bit, and we get a slightly heavier steering wheel, and we get a bit more response from the engine and electric motor, but nothing too different in the suspension department. Now we'll go into Cupra mode and see if that makes a real difference. I can feel a bit more the road now through the suspension. It feels a bit more rough, and the steering is just a little bit more stiff. So yeah, Cupra is like the race mode in this car. They've branded it as Cupra mode because Cupras are meant to be a very sporty car, so you have Cupra mode. And going through a pothole, yeah, you feel that a lot more than you would in comfort mode, but that's why I like driving around in comfort mode most of the time. But if you like a blend of any of those modes, you have individual mode to select and cherry pick the different characteristics of this car and make your own mode if you choose to. Now in this car, you can actively choose between running on pure electric power or hybrid power before the car decides for you when you run out of actual electric range. So if I jump into the menu here, I can simply switch into hybrid mode, which I like using, and then you can actually manage your battery a little bit by going into a battery manager mode. And it allows you to either pause how much charge being drawn from this car. So say if in a road trip you want to preserve your battery, you can sort of pause the car using that battery and it will just use the petrol motor, or you can actually select how much battery you want at the end of your drive by selecting how much reserve charge level you'd like. And so I'm going to choose a reserve charge level of just over a quarter left, and then we'll be in hybrid mode, and I want to go into Cupra mode to see how this handles as a proper hot hatch back through that course we just drove through. Now with ESC Sport on, I do believe we have launch control. So let's see how electric power and petrol power combines to make for a hot hatch. So let's go into launch control. Launch control is active, and 3, 2, 1. It's rapid. It is very rapid. That front wheel drive grip though, just can't put the power down, that instant torque, so you will spin those tires just a little bit. And I do think these Pirellis are a little bit slippery compared to say a Michelin compound, but once you get going, you fly up to that 0 to 100 mark, and 6.7 seconds does not feel that slow at all. So this feels like a nice, fun to drive car. And if you start engaging these paddles here, it feels almost like you've got a like a budget 918 Spider. Now, who would I recommend this car to? Well, you're looking for a fun to drive plug-in hybrid, and you're looking at one right here. It's not an SUV and it's not too big. I think this is a great option for those who are looking for something like that. But would I buy one? No, I wouldn't. If I wanted the electric driving experience, I'd just go buy a fully electric car like the Polestar 2 or rear-wheel drive Tesla Model 3. And if I wanted an exciting hot hatch, I would actually spend the small extra amount of money, or even a little less money, on either the Cupra Leon VZe or the Cupra Leon VZe. So overall, it is a good plug-in hybrid little hatchback, but it's not a car I'd recommend for everyone.